Hey everybody, it's Desiree and welcome to Road2Par the Podcast. Here we'll be helping you enhance your golf experiences through a little education, a little entertainment, and events and travel. So stay tuned, we have some live interviews that'll be coming up and just talking more in depth about the golf community and where we are, where we've been, and where we're going. So stay tuned for your Road to Par. Hey everybody, it's your girl Desiree and welcome back to another amazing episode of Road to Par the podcast. I am so excited today. So today I have the opportunity to be joined by one of my actual golf buddies. Listen, this is a huge deal for me. First of all, he rags me all the time that I don't have him on the show yet, but I figure now is the perfect time with all the great things that he's working on. So I would love to introduce Dr. Ricardo Washington, the one and only, who is affectionately called Doc. What's up, Doc? Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, what's up, Desiree? How you doing today?
Listen, first of all, I'm just so thankful that you have bestowed me the opportunity to have you on our podcast. I know we always joke about it. We'll be on like hole 10 and he'd be like, so what's up with the podcast? And I'll be like, I'm just waiting on you. And we literally do this for like 10, 12 rounds through the summer. So it's an honor to have her.
No, the honor is mine. And before we get started, I just really want to shout you out. And, you know, I know I've said it to you personally, but just want to say it on air. I am so tremendously proud of you. I remember the start of Road to Par when it was just an idea. I don't know if you remember, but I remember a conversation that we had at 24-Hour Fitness. I bumped into you on a Saturday. Yeah.
And we've outlasted 24-Hour Fitness, right?
Right. We outlasted 24-Hour Fitness. And, you know, to see some of the things that you've done, you know, not only with golf, but inside of our community, you put your life on the line, you know, every day. And it has not changed who you are as a person. So I just really want to shout you out for that and tell you that, you know, I'm very, very proud to be called your friend.
Don't make me
it's very important.
Podcast.
We're not gonna cry today, but you know, I don't have a lot of friends.
Listen.
I truly consider you, you know, a friend of mine, and kudos to you for what you're doing. But I do see bigger and better for you. So thank you. Thank you.
I can't thank you enough. And that was very, very amazing. Making me blush on screen here, but. You know, this is why I got started on Road to Par. I never forget, we met a few years ago at TPC Potomac, correct? I think was about that time.
Our first meeting ever?
I think so. If it wasn't TPC Potomac, he about to
we met in Myrtle Beach.
Oh, you guys came down. Yes. Oh, wow.
I saw you at the bar.
Was it? Oh, wait. It was either Legends or Heritage, wasn't it?
It was Legends because I've never been to Heritage.
Yeah.
So it was Legends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's so crazy because Road to Par, it means so many things. And having you on today means a lot because like you just said, you know, we met in Myrtle Beach. We play, you know, here in DC area. You know, it's one of those things where this journey in golf will take us many places. When I first started Road to Par the podcast, it was because essentially I wanted people to actually meet the golfers who are out there playing golf every day, every week, not the people who are on TV. And so I've been very fortunate and very blessed to have people like yourself on who are amazing golfers. Some, like you, are self-taught. We'll come back to that. But to be able to sit down and talk to a doctor of philosophy. So, I mean, like, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, how did you become a doctor of philosophy? And then here we are, I'm talking to you about your amazing golf game and the amount of work that you're doing in the golf community.
So, I guess you know, real quick historical study of Ricardo, born and raised in Washington, D.C. I actually graduated from Siouxland High School, and I went to Western Maryland College, which is now McDaniels College. I got my degree in history and religious studies. I went to the Air Force. I spent years in the United States Air Force where I worked on nuclear weapon systems. I came out and I ended up writing policy for the Department of Interior and got a job after that at George Washington University, and found out that I can get my master's degree using the GI Bill. So I got my master's in anthropology. At the time, I didn't know why, but I just knew I wanted to learn more about human nature. So I got my master's in anthropology, became an cultural anthropologist, and then from there, I stepped over to Georgetown, where I got my PhD in 2008 in philosophy. And a few years later, I stepped on the golf course for the first time down at Kings Mill in Williamsburg, Virginia.
Wait, the first time? Wait, you went to Kings Mill for the first... Wait. Okay, back it up. You started playing golf on one of the nicest courses in America.
Yeah, so funny story. I was in Williamsburg for a bowling tournament, and we were down there. We bowled Saturday morning, and this pastor, he comes up to me and says, "Hey, Ricardo, you want to go play golf?" And I'm like, "Golf? Like, no." But couldn't say that to the pastor because he asked. Mm-hmm. And so, funny thing, I said, "Well, you need some golf clothes." So we ran over to the Williamsburg outlets, and then we ended up going to this golf course and go inside. Didn't have any clubs. Had to pay for the round, rent clubs. I paid like $160 or something. And I was like, wait a minute, $160 for some grass?
Wait, and you can go to the bowling alley where you're like, all right, $20 for this. I already had my ball about 10 years. Right?
I'm good, right.
Right.
And the interesting story was, I know that we didn't finish the round because one of the guys got sick.
Oh, no.
And so we played 14 holes. And I remember one tee shot. I don't know what hole it was, but I know I hit driver because it was the longest one. And I outdrove don't tell me how I did it. Didn't know where it went. But when we got down there, he was like, "Oh, Ricardo, you way up there." And I was like, "Oh my God."
You got hooked.
And I'll tell you what, it's funny. That was Saturday in Williamsburg. We finished the tournament on Sunday. That Monday, came home. I went to the Target in Largo.
Oh, wow.
And bought a Wilson
beginner
set.
So wait, you caught the bug. Now, and it's so funny about that. I could definitely see catching the bug playing at Kings Mill because it's actually one of the most beautiful golf courses on the Eastern Seaboard. And
so think about it. From DC, right?
Yeah.
From DC.
Yeah.
We played football. It was on mud, dirt.
Yeah.
In the street, right? So I even when I went to college, I didn't see that type of green grass.
Like playing basketball in the alleyway with the makeshift basket.
With the makeshift basket, right? With the milk carton up on, yeah.
And listen, I mean, it's a blessing to be able to talk to a fellow Washingtonian, right? So you and I have played a good amount of golf together over the past, what was it, 8
years.
So you've been playing 8. I've been playing, this will be probably about 7, and we've known each other for about 5 of those years, right? And so, so about 5 of those years, it's been interesting because you are a self-taught golfer. And to see your game progress. Now, I will tell everybody listening to this right now, Dr. Washington has one of the smoothest swings. I mean, literally, I just sit there like, wow. And it's so flawless. It's effortless. And I often think, okay, I didn't spend all this money for all these lessons. And Doc is self-taught with literally the most beautiful swing I think I've ever seen. How do you do that, Doc?
Well, thank you. Well, so actually, I have a cousin who caddied at Congressional. And when I bought that box set from Target, I called him because I knew he golfed. And I said, I want to go play with you. I bought a set of clubs. And I never used the Wilson set. Because when my cousin saw him, he said, "Oh, no. You're not using those. No, we're not playing with those." No. And it's funny. because he gave me a set of Hogan's set of Ben Hogan blades that I still have.
I was about to say, you've been playing blades the whole time.
I've been playing blades the whole time. Oh. And I just started mimicking what my cousin did. Mm-hmm. And I tried to recreate his swing, his tempo, his rhythm. And I have a buddy who used to say to me, he said, Ricardo, golf is all about, creating balance in your swing. And he had this saying, and it went like, rhythm creates control, control creates balance, and balance creates fun. And so I always kind of thought of that when I was in the swing. Now, watch, just like everybody else, watch a lot of YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that I will say that I kind of admire myself is that I'm not afraid to go through the bad shots.
Right.
So, and I don't get embarrassed if I hit a bad shot in front of people.
But I think you said something in that very moment that captures what a lot of great golfers have, which is not so much a lack of fear, but the understanding that it's scary to go through it, but I'm going to go through it and I'm going to prevail through it at the same time. So taking the bad shots, you're not afraid to actually, and I know we'll talk about it later. We talk about, Tiger, we look at the different golfers, we watch pros on Twitter. One of the things that most people love about professional golfers is their confidence. And that is something with that smooth swing you have, I would say there's no fear. There's a lot of confidence, because whether the shot will go good or go bad, you have a confidence in your own swing, which it definitely shows with that balance that you've shown over time.
No, and again, thank you for that. And I'll tell you this, there are so in the philosophical realm of education, we talk about the ladders of learning. So these stages of human development. So, there's where you are unconsciously unknowing, all the way up to where you can be unconsciously proficient at something. And so I use the analogy of tying your shoe. So as a baby, you don't even know what a shoe is. Mm-hmm. Your mama, daddy, big brother, grandma, they put a shoe on you and they're down there tying your shoe up, and you kind of like looking at them and they know. So you don't know, you don't know that you don't know how to do it. And so they start to teach you how to do it. And then you can't really do it, because once you start doing it, they got to come back and they have to redo it because your shoes aren't tight enough. But you keep practicing every day, and they keep coming to correct you. And then that one day you just do it and you do it right. And then after you do it right, it becomes, wait a minute. Now today, if I look down, I have on shoes that have strings. I don't even have to look down to tie them up correctly, tie them up tight. That's a process. And so with the golf swing, let's not say the golf swing, let's just say the game of golf, because playing it, just people do not want to go through the bad stuff. Right. They get embarrassed. They worry about what people are going to say to them. They get worried about, how it feels to them. And so that negativity with that one shot can ruin somebody's game. How many times have you played with somebody and they double the first hole, and then they're just like so dejected, and it's like, oh, well, I can't break 90 now. Well, what do you mean? you got 17 more holes to play. You absolutely can.
Well, and so, it's funny that you say that, because when you talk about the good and the bad, right? So you just said about doubling the hole. I think most of us golfers now, a little bit more season that you get, whether it be years or with amount of golf that you play. If I double the first hole, I'm thinking, okay, I got that double out the way. I'm a birdie's ahead, you know what I'm saying? So I, to your point, definitely the trial and error. Golf is a very humbling game. We people say golfers are some of the craziest people. So we go out there and we hit, 80 bad shots, and we might have maybe 5 good shots, and those 5 outweigh the 80, and we keep coming back.
It only takes that one.
But the crazy thing about it is sometimes it's not just the game that we come back for, which is something else I want to get into, because you are actually tapping into the mental health of it. Something that you and I have discussed, many times. A lot of people don't realize when I first started playing golf, a friend of mine brought me into the game at a time when a family member was going through the transition of cancer. And I will tell you, golf was, it was everything for me. I was at the range probably morning, noon, and night, and really just took to it, no matter where I played, whether the scenery was nice or the company was good, or it was just, your local park, hitting a few balls. But I know that you and I have talked, and you actually have started a nonprofit called BMeetG. Tell us what BMeetG is and what it stands for, if you don't mind.
So BMeetG, it stands for Black Men Expressing Emotions Through Golf. And so what I would like to do is to use golf as a conduit to create a safe place for Black men to come together where they can discuss their emotions. They can get away from, kind of like that hardcore, which is most of the time is fake anyway. But, kind of like, what we think of the traditional, alpha male, if you go back to looking at a kid that falls down and he's crying. Well, when the young kid is crying, what is he doing? He's expressing himself. He's telling you in his way that he's feeling pain. He can't verbalize it, so it comes out physically with tears, and it comes out verbally through the crying, which we call the crying, that anguish, the inflection in his voice. He's telling you that I'm hurt. Some part of me is hurting. Well, what have I've seen a lot of parents do this? Boy, shut up. Boy, stop all that crying. Get up. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Shake it off. Wipe it off. Well, first of all, you don't know how he's hurting. You don't know what part of him is hurting. And then if you begin to do that enough, he's going to start to internalize that. And so when he becomes 18, 21, 27, 35, 40, 50, and he never is allowed to express himself in a judgment-free area, then what happens? It affects his relationships with his parents, with his significant other, if he has children, with his co-workers. So how productive can you be at your job? And so I've seen that happen. And a good friend of mine, she lost her godson recently to suicide, just because he felt that he didn't have that safe place to go to someone and, and express himself without judgment. Now, sometimes some people need therapy, you need professional counseling, but before you need professional counseling, you're getting to that place. And so we're talking about that sadness that you feel where you may not want to see a therapist, but you just want to talk to somebody and you want to really be able to open up. We don't express ourselves. And MJ will tell you this. When I talk to MJ and we get off the phone, never ended without saying, I love you, brother. Just to let you know.
Now, for those listening, we have a very good friend named SJ. And, one of the great things I'll say about being around you all is that the concept of golf is therapy. When we talk about needing the release of emotions, of the stress of the world. You talked about how our young Black men are sometimes not often able to show their emotions due to society, due to traditions, due to lack of communication from a parent or family member. So let me ask you this. I mean, because I personally am trying to get every child in my family, everybody I know into golf. And I will tell you, it's because of I think that golf has renewed a sense of purpose in my life. And do you think that with BMeetG, it would do the same for our young brothers? And I don't know if it's just exclusive, but even for our young sisters who are also dealing with times of frustration and a lack of ability to get it out sometime.
So yeah, now I don't want, so I would never exclude my sisters, but at the moment my focus will be, you know, the mental health awareness for Black men. But I will say this, is that more confirmation to me that something like this is needed actually came from my daughter. And you know, I'm a new.
I saw the videos. Listen, y'all, he be out here and he's creating another female golf pro in the making. I love it, and I tell you this all the time. To see him out with his daughter out on course is one of the most beautiful things I've seen in a long time, and so I commend you, both of you all, for doing that.
Yeah. So really funny is, you know, she works at a bank and she's a new mom, and you know, she called me one day. She actually was stranded. She locked her keys in her car, coming on her way to work, going to 7-Eleven, going to 7-Eleven real quick, and you know, lock her keys in. So she calls me, and she broke down, and she's crying, and I'm like, you know, what's wrong? And she's like, what? You know, the keys and this, and I said, okay, this isn't about the keys. The key was the trigger,
Right.
for this emotional outburst. It's everything else. And so I said, okay, well, let's calm down. I'm on my way. And when I got there, she asked me, she said, how are you always so calm? She said, you never get frustrated. You never get flustered with anything. And I said, well, I play too much golf for that. And so I will never forget the day. It was probably, I think, a Tuesday, and it was raining good. Wow. And she said, well, can we go play golf? And I said, when? Now? Really? Now, mind you, she still had her work clothes on.
That's all right.
So I said, okay. So we go, and I think we stopped at Dick's. I bought her a pair of shoes. I gave her my Ben Hogan blades to play with, and we went out to the course. And with Chris Marsh, she walked 18 holes.
Wow.
In the rain.
Wow.
Yeah. And I said to her, I said, this is my mental health. I said, this is why you never see me get flustered. And after that, I never pushed it on her. She will call me, Daddy, can we go play? Daddy, can you buy me clubs?
She ready, y'all.
She ready. Yeah, she ready. So I went, and she got clubs, and then I gave her one of my bags. Right. So I said, I'm not gonna buy a bag, and
I'm about to say, you know, offers, we have like 3, 4, 5 bags sitting somewhere in the corner, in the garage, something.
Look, the little sister told me, she said, I don't want your little camouflage bag. I need a girly bag. I need clothes. Yeah.
And then what's interesting, I'm going to double back real quick, because you also mentioned another golf buddy of ours, Dr. Chris Marsh, who I believe you all are working on an amazing project together. Do you mind giving us a little info on that?
Yeah. So, so Chris, and I'll tell you how I met Chris. I met Chris at Enterprise over a year ago, and Chris doesn't like to play with other people. Because she's new. I mean, she, you know, you really can't tell by her swing, but she's relatively new. Okay. And so I got kind of paired with her and some other guy, and she was like, nah, you don't have to play. You can go ahead. And I was just like, well, it's like four foursomes in front of you. So I can't go ahead.
Right.
So I ended up, playing with them and let her tell the story. She hated me. She was so mad that I played with them. And, oh my God. Yeah, it's the funniest thing. And we've been inseparable since.
Now you all are working on a book together, right?
So now she's a sociologist out of the University of Maryland. And, me, a philosopher, cultural anthropologist out of Georgetown. And we decided to come together and do a research study on the effects of golf on the Black middle class. And so we'll be looking at golf at that intersection of sexism, classism, racism, and how it has affected the Black middle class over history and, the current temperature with respect to those three subfields and those categories. And we're doing it now. Things have been moving a little slower than we'd like, just due to COVID and some of the restrictions from the Institutional Review Board. But we get out twice a week and we play and we do research. And then we are still trying to get the virtual piece up. Hopefully mid 2021.
Now let me
coming out.
Let me ask you this, because I know that you and I probably get out a couple of times a month during the normal golf season. And when I first started playing, I didn't see a lot of golfers like myself. I would travel and sometimes be the only Black female out there. Especially if I traveled in areas that were not major metropolitan areas. But in reference to the work that you're doing and given our social climate today, right? So America's got a mirror on itself. The golf industry has a mirror on itself, and we're having to face what that looks like in terms of, as you're looking at golf in the African American community, how it's affecting us, how it's affected us. What would you say for you has been kind of the eye-opener in some of the research that you are doing right now?
So I don't think that there's really been an eye-opener yet.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that, people look at kind of like the pandemic and they say, oh, well, there's been this explosion, in golf because the pandemic. Golf is really one of the only, if not the only sport that we could do with proper social distancing. You could walk more, and that kind of thing. And yeah, no doubt. Since the pandemic, I got to be humble, and with all humility, I can say that I never stopped playing. Drove down to Virginia when they were open, and I did pay a little more than I wanted to play. But hey, supply and demand. But to answer your question, I don't see it. I don't think that golf has made that turn with respect to being inclusive in order for it to have the influx of young African American boys and girls coming in and staying in the game. Right. One, your antiquated dress code, which a lot of people talk about, your dress code.
Now, this is all coming from a man who's very dapper on the course, y'all. Let me just say, and it's funny because, and I agree. I know we read millions of articles. We see the headlines when somebody wore the wrong thing at the golf course and it went left. And I know that there's a lot of young guys and gals out there who are bringing new clothing lines to the industry, who are trying to change the way we look at golf attire. And of course, some of the big companies, especially like Nike, is really blown up with that. But one of the things, because it's a very interesting viewpoint, that someone would say that your clothing limits your ability for exposure. which is a very true statement, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. But I'm thinking back to your nonprofit that you started, and I think about you as an example, as a very dapper gentleman. I mean, y'all, let me tell you something. This brother comes to the course. He's always color coordinated. The shirt, the pants. First of all, I don't think I've ever seen him wear shorts. So let me just throw that out there. He got the Ben Hogan clubs and the Ben Hogan uniform to go with it. So, but I think that's important, right? When you have a nonprofit such as the one that you started, because it's also, we don't want to limit our youth, but we also want to instill a sense of purpose. Do you think that plays a part in some of the dress code sometimes?
Well, so if we're talking about, kind of like that dress code, we can mimic personality type. We can mimic appearance without forcing it. So I never tell my son how to dress, even though I'm buying his clothes. And when he wants something that I probably wouldn't wear, that I'd be like, I understand that he's growing up in a different time. But now that he's 15 and I'm looking at him, I'm starting to see, he's starting to look more and more like me. Okay. He's starting to say, well, you know what? I kind of want to be like my dad. Mm. Hey, Dad, where you get those from? What's that about? I know those are golf shoes, ain't they? Hey, let me get some of those. Okay. And it's not even about him playing golf. He's not even interested in the game. So I let him have that. Right. Now with respect to the organization, I wouldn't have a dress code. Mm. I would talk about the dress code, etiquette. Right. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. That's a part of that. My mom, she taught etiquette for 40 years to little girls, but I was around her all the time. So people look at me and they say, why do you say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, all the time? Mm-hmm. And you know me, I said to you, it doesn't matter your age, right? It's just that you're a young woman, and my mom told me to give that proper respect. Right. But it doesn't have to be forced. And so I think that if you look back over the history of the sport, what we consider proper golf attire today wasn't considered proper golf attire in 1905.
It was like a whole suit. I think they was like button-down shirts, everything.
And that came from Scotland, and that wasn't a fashion statement. It was more so because of the weather, because you had to dress like that with the overcoat because of the weather. And so nowadays, if you look at what they wear, kind of like on the European tour, wake up one Saturday, Sunday morning and watch the European tour when they're over there playing, when it's 25 degrees, right? And you start to look at what they're wearing. So what happens is, when you're trying to introduce somebody to the game, you have all of these negative barriers that you have to overcome. Well, the price, right? I mean, you look at paying, the least expensive golf course I know in this area, let's say Paint Branch. And if you're walking, playing 18 is $20. How many people can drop $100 a week, $400 a month? And that's at Paint Branch. Right. And I'm introducing you to the game. And now I want you to go buy a specific type of clothing that you don't already have. So instead of just letting you come in with what you already have and hope that you graduate, to a proper level of what we would consider a proper fashionable dress etiquette, which I don't agree with it. Mm-hmm. I just happen to like wearing what I'm wearing. But there have been days, and I got pictures where I've been out there with a sweatshirt on, with
I think we had a hoodie
a
for
hoodie.
Road2Par
Road
year
to Par. I
event,
wore,
right?
I wore, I wore a hoodie at
The
the Road to
fashion statement
Par.
hoodie. Yeah, it was dope. It was dope. But you know what?
Yeah,
I mean, people like yourself, Doc, are a big driving force of the golf community. I think we love watching our athletes on TV, but like yourself, you are out here actually changing not just the climate and the direction, but you're actually making it more inclusive. You're helping young people understand it. And not just young people, because I also know that part of your mission is also helping Black men with mental health awareness, and I think that's a huge part. I know we've talked quite a bit about it, and would love to know more about that part as well.
yeah. I play golf. I have a friend of mine that I play golf with, and he's so isolated that you're one of my closest friends, and you probably never even heard me mention his name or talk about him. And this guy is probably the greatest man that I know of walking this earth. Like literally, he's my own personal Jesus Christ.
Oh, wow.
Like I've seen this guy give, kind of like the shirt off of his back, literally give, we're walking in the 7-Eleven and somebody asks him for $2 and he'll go to the ATM and give him $100. Like I'm telling you, stuff that I've witnessed him do. And he has a saying, he's like, that's not my money, that's God's money. And what they do with that is between them and God. I'm looking at him like, I'll go in there and buy you a half smoke, but I ain't giving you a whole bill.
Right.
And so even with the goodness in his heart, he goes through his trials and tribulations, veteran. And when he calls me to go play golf, I know what I'm in store for.
Right.
I'm in store for 5 hours of him exfoliating, and I don't mind. If that's what it takes for you to unload, to express your emotions in a judgment-free zone, so I don't have to worry about you committing suicide, or I don't have to worry about you going into your job and shooting up the place. I don't have to worry about you walking down, Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue with your wife's head in your hand. I don't have to worry about that, because I know that because I allowed you to exfoliate over this round of golf, that you're good now. And I just feel that has become my calling. And I think that there are so many other Black men who need that, who are just afraid to express themselves. So I feel that if I can just be that person to spark it, to say, hey, you can come here, no judgment. You'd be surprised. We feel the same way. We
That's
going through this. We going through the same thing that you're going through. Baby mama drama, child support, bad relationships with our fathers, or with our mothers, haven't seen our kids. I lost my job, finances, bad credit, all of that. We're all going through the same thing, maybe different levels, different times, and all you need to do is express it. And I just want to do it out in the open, over 9 holes. And I think that golf will give us the opportunity to help a lot of Black men with respect to their mental health awareness.
Listen, Doc. I mean, first of all, I think that you are doing an amazing thing in so many ways, and I think that that's part of, we've had conversations about the mental health components of golf that we need to pay more attention to. COVID, you talked about it earlier. I think we all, once we realized, golf season has started, we said, okay, let me find a open golf course. And we all made that trek to Virginia, here in DC. It was kind of like that was the only thing open for a while. But it was a mental release. Like, to know that we could go out somewhere outside, and golf. You're limited in your group size anyway, and to be able to have fresh air, to be able to get your exercise in. I think it was a mental break for everybody. I think that the downside to it all is that we can't find a decent tea time at a decent price
at a decent price,
right? But I will say, our conversations that we have all the time, and the amazing work that you're doing, and I always appreciate your support coming out to the happy hours. It's about having an opportunity to unload, unwind, mentally, physically, and then also bringing it back to, we hit the 19th hole and we just, let it all out on the 18 holes and come out on the night. And then we just sit there and we just have some good times with good people. And I'm just so very thankful that you're one of them. I just can't thank you enough. And I'm really, truly committed to, however, wherever, first the book you all have coming out, the other projects I know you're working on, and the nonprofit. I mean, you're just doing amazing things. And I just want to say thank you, Doc.
No, thank you. And I'll just, I know we're coming up on the end of our time, but the last project that I want to mention to you is that I am penning a book that will be titled How Golf Has Forged a Friendship. And so this will just chronicle all of my different friendships that have been created solely through golf. Wow. So it's amazing when I sit back and think about it, that nobody in this book will have known me, more than 8 years, or my cousin, but he brought me into golf. But this is solely about how golf, and even through golf, me and my cousin were close before golf. Yeah. But now, yeah, and then all of my relationships, you, BMeetG, Marcus, Jimmy, Nate, Butler, and we look at individuals who are just Katie Mid, Becky, Michelle, all of these individuals who we now consider friends. They're friends of yours, Kim. Yep. How we, those relationships start to intertwine. And I think that I could tell a pretty good story with respect to how golf has forged those friendships. And I'm excited about it. And again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come and be a part of this.
Listen, I'm excited for you because ready for the testimonials, Road2Par like down. From golf trips locally and away, we have a good time, and I think that's a big part about it all is that, when we're out on the course, we leave it out on the course, and when we come back, it is like, listen, when we going back out there, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, and it's funny. I asked you one question. Have you ever felt bad when you left the golf course?
Never. Even if I blew up the golf course, I am very much like, all right, I got to come back.
That was good, right? And so think about that.
Yeah.
What other time have we ever been in any space where we have left and it has never been bad?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it says a lot to the game and the opportunity it can provide those who have yet to come into the game. We've been very fortunate. The fact that I've been in it for going on 7, you probably going on 9, I think, at this point. Got a couple years on me. There's just so much to learn and so many great conversations. I never forget when I first started playing, I think the motto was, you never meet a stranger on the golf course. To have 4 to 5 hours, hopefully not more, some of those tournaments we played, but 4 to 5 hours spending time with Mother Nature, with yourself, and with each other, honestly, is just one of the biggest gifts I think that has been bestowed upon us. So, Doc, I can't thank you enough for joining me. I look forward to being able to throw out all the links, the information, the press releases, when all the things drop.
Kudos.
And here at Road2Par, we support you and look forward to being able to help out any way we can.
Absolutely. No, thank you. And you know that anything that you're doing, I'm right there for it. I'm not sure that I can get to Houston next year.
It's all right. It's all
I'm
right.
not sure. Yeah,
All right.
a buddy just asked me to be in a wedding, so I don't think I can make it to Houston.
Nice.
But anything between now and then that you do, I'm right there with you.
Hey, it's all good. I think between the two of us, I'm sure we've got a million trips and events lined up, and we're gonna hop on one or two when we can. So
Absolutely.
thank you again for
No,
coming on.
no.
And
Thank you, Desi. Love you. Know I love you.
I love you too, Dan. I see you out on
Yeah.
the course, Doc.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for another wonderful show of Road2Par the podcast. We just wanted to remind you that views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on Road2Par the podcast are that of the hosts and Road2Par LLC. All of our guests, callers, advertisers are independently of their own. So thank you again for joining us and look forward to having you join us on our Road to Par.